Como ça va, everybody? This is Lagniappe TV presented by Cajun Lures, and today I'm going to talk to you about fall fishing. It's finally starting to get some cool fronts in Louisiana. It's nice and breezy, starting to feel good outside, 70 degrees in the afternoon. This is my favorite time of year for two reasons. We're not sweating anymore, it's not so humid, mosquitoes aren't as terrible, but also the fishing gets really good. Many reasons why I like to fish in the fall is that the lakes aren't pressured so much. It's hunting season, everybody's starting to hunt, but when the fish are biting, I gotta catch them. So I stay on the water at this time of year. I love the type of patterns that you'll find at this time of year, because we're getting earlier sunsets and later sunrises, and what's happening during the day is telling the shad to start moving around and swimming up the channels, going into the backs of creeks, and the bass are following right behind them. So you can find a lot of different patterns on the lake this year, and I want to tell you about a few different ways I like to fish during the fall. One of my favorite ways is flipping a jig or rolling a football jig. One of my favorite jigs I like to use is actually the Denny Brower structure jig, and I'll trailer it with a poodoo crawl. And actually one of my favorite colors at this time of year is black and blue. So right here in this jig combination, I have black and blue structure jig, and I'll use the new Payal color in the poodoo crawl, which is black on the top and sapphire blue on the bottom. It's a good combination. Now, why I like to use this type of jig head is because I can fish a steep bank, which is what shad like to use as sort of like a highway, and the bass always follow them. And I can fish on the bottom and roll it and walk it and move it and drag it like a football jig, but I can also flip it into a tree if I need to. If I see a lay down on the bank or a bush, I'll flip that right in there. Also, another great way to catch them, and it's just incredible fun, is a frog. What we have here is a new Cajun Lures frog prototype coming out shortly. You just can't go wrong with a frog. The bass are active at this time of year, and they're feeding around the grass. So if you find lily pads, hydrilla, hyacinth, any of those sort of things, bass are feeding on the shad. So a frog it entices a reaction strike. It's just a great way to catch them, because there's nothing more exciting like seeing a bass just explode on your frog. I mean, if you don't like to catch them on a frog, then you need to check your pulse. And then another great way to catch bass is always a square bill crankbait. Being that the bass are a little shallower, you don't have to use a deep diving crankbait. You can just throw a little banded, anything, KVD 1.5, something like that. You can always find different crankbait profiles that'll closely match the shad in your waters, as it'll just catch them. It's an all-time go-to bait. Another great way that I like to use is chatterbaits. The vibration put off by chatterbait is incredible. It entices big bites, that's why I like to throw it. But actually on clear water reservoirs like Toledo Bend, I actually throw without a skirt. And this is to closely match more of a natural shad profile. When you have a skirt on there, it might bulk it up. But on chatterbaits, I like to keep it clean like this, and it works great for me. So at this time of year, I'm definitely throwing this. Now in the springtime, I'll throw a chatterbait, but then I'll keep the skirt on it, because the fish are coming out of a funk from the wintertime and they're looking for something big to eat. Right now, they're seeing a lot of shad that have a smaller, slim profile. Therefore, that's why I keep it as natural as possible in the fall. Now, one of my favorite techniques to use in the fall, and I'll actually keep it tied on all year long, is a swim jig. This is one of my favorite colors to use in the fall. It's white with a little bit of pearl and the chartreuse on the top. The chartreuse just kind of catches their attention, and pairing this with the salt and pepper swamp swimmer is deadly. This jig combination, I've caught more fish and bigger fish than I have since I started throwing a swim jig. And what happens, and the reason why, is because the swamp swimmer's flat body will actually give this bait enough wobble when you swim it slowly. That's what the fish sees. So when you see a fish kind of swimming and wants to wobble, and that's what entices the bite. A lot of people kind of ask me how you fish it, and really I just throw this thing out there as if I was fishing like a crankbait or anything, and I'll just reel it back back to the boat. I'll try different paces, how fast I'm reeling. Sometimes I reel it real slow, sometimes I reel it fast. You kind of have to gauge on how the fish are feeding on the shad wherever you're fishing. A swim jig in the fall is deadly. Now, on a reservoir like Toledo Bend, I'll use the full swamp swimmer on here. And if you need to trim it up, all you gotta do is just bite an inch or so off the head and you can trim it up. For instances like if you're fishing in the basin, they're not gonna want a profile so big, you can trim up your bait, or you can even trade out to the Mad Minnow and Salt and Pepper, which is a 3-inch profile. So swim jig in the fall, and that's a deadly combination. I'm Zach Dubois with Lagniappe TV, presented by Cajun Lures, and this is Fall Fishing.